Some people get tired and lie down. You get tired and start moving faster. As if exhaustion is a warning, not a limit. Rest does not feel simple to you. It feels exposed, undeserved, and strangely unsafe. You say you will relax after one more task. Then another appears, and your body obeys before your mind can object. From the outside, it looks like discipline. Inside, it feels more like you cannot stop without feeling guilty. You can sit on the couch and still be bracing. Your jaw stays tight. Your chest acts like something is about to happen. And if nothing is happening, your mind will create something, a problem to solve, a person to worry about, a reason to stay alert. That is the part many people miss. Overworking is not always ambition. Sometimes it is a form of self-protection. Some children learn that being easy, useful, or low maintenance keeps the room calm. They grow into adults, confuse tension with responsibility. They were praised for being mature. But maturity is not the same as having no needs. Sometimes you were the child who never asked for much. Sometimes you asked once, felt the reaction, and never asked the same way again. In both kinds of homes, the child learns to monitor mood, timing, footsteps, tone. Safety becomes something you study. Rest is hard when your nervous system was trained to anticipate. Deep down, stillness feels like losing track of what might go wrong. So you become the dependable one. The one who remembers, fixes, carries, replies, plans, and notices before anyone else has to. People admire this version of you. They call you strong. They trust you with everything, including the things that were never yours to hold. But being needed can become a trap. The more useful you are, the less permission you feel to fall apart. That language matters, because it hides the truth that your exhaustion is not a character flaw. It is a body that never fully got to unclench. A lot of people who cannot rest were not taught rest is something human. They were taught rest is something risky. Maybe you were parentified without ever using that word. You became the emotional adult in a house where adults leaked stress everywhere. That kind of childhood creates a very specific adult, competent on the outside but privately confused by softness. Because softness asks something terrifying. It asks you to stop earning your place for a moment and simply exist inside it. That sounds gentle in theory. In real life, it can feel unbearable, like standing still in a room where you used to survive by listening. What they do not see is the inner negotiation, the guilt, the scanning, the urge to get up and prove you still deserve the day. This is why free time can feel oddly heavy, not because you do not want peace, but because peace leaves you alone with yourself. And yourself may be someone you only know through function, the planner, the helper, the reliable one, the person who gets things done. Because when movement slows down, old feelings get louder. The loneliness from childhood, the fear of being a burden, the ache of never being fully held. So you keep moving, not always because you love productivity, but because motion keeps certain doors closed. The hard part is that this pattern is often rewarded. At work, you are exceptional. In friendships, you are the safe person. In family systems, you are the one who can handle it. You become everyone else's emergency contact, the one people call when life spills over, the one who says, "I got it," before checking your own capacity. But eventually the bill arrives. It shows up as resentment with nowhere to go, fatigue that sleep does not fix, and a strange numbness during your own life. And someone asks for one small favor. You say yes immediately and hate yourself for how automatic it was. You see it in tiny moments everywhere. Someone asks how you are, and your first answer is a performance of being fine. Or you finally set a boundary, then spend the next 4 hours feeling guilty, replaying your tone and wondering if you were cruel. Or you are sick, clearly sick, and still apologizing, sorry for the inconvenience, sorry for the reschedule, sorry for having a body at all. People who never learned how to rest often apologize for existing in non-useful states. Tired, sad, confused, needy, uncertain, slow. As children, those states may not have been received well. Maybe they were ignored. Maybe they were mocked. Maybe they made someone else even more overwhelmed. So you learned a cleaner version of yourself. Quiet feelings, efficient needs, minimal impact. That adaptation can look very mature. Teachers liked it. Employers love it. Partners may depend on it before they understand the cost. But what looked like maturity was sometimes self-erasure with good manners. It was a child becoming easy to carry by caring too much. That is why you may feel old in some ways and underdeveloped in others. Hypercompetent in crisis but lost inside simple comfort. You can manage deadlines, conflict, and other people's emotions, but ask what you want for dinner, and something in you goes blank. Because wanting was never the skill being trained, anticipating others was. That is why rest feels bigger than it should. To rest means to stop performing usefulness, to stop monitoring the room, to let your face fall neutral and not explain it. For some people that feels normal. For you, it may feel like losing the self that kept things stable. There is often a hidden fear underneath all this. If I stop, everything will catch up to me. Sometimes that means chores and deadlines. More often, it means feelings, the buried anger, the loneliness, the sadness that never had a witness. Rest threatens to uncover what constant effort kept sedated. That is why your body may resist it even when your mind craves it. You can be desperate for a break and still panic once you finally get one. That contradiction is more common than people realize. Or you lie in bed on a Sunday afternoon. The room is quiet, but your body is not. It keeps waiting for an alarm no one set. Sometimes restlessness is not energy. It is vigilance with nowhere to go. And sometimes exhaustion is not solved by sleep, because the real depletion came from years of self-monitoring, not just from missed hours. When your system is used to being on call, even kindness can feel disorienting. Someone offers help and your first instinct is to refuse. Not because you do not need it, because receiving creates exposure. It means someone might see how tired you really are. That is the quiet math of people who never felt freely cared for. Nothing is allowed to be simple. Not rest, not support, not tenderness. So love can become easier to give than receive. You know how to show up. You do not always know how to be held there. If you hide your softness well, even good people never get the chance to meet it. They see competence and assume capacity. That hunger can come out sideways. Irritation at small requests, numbness during intimacy, a private collapse after being impressive all day. None of this means you are broken. It means your system became loyal to an old job. The job was simple. Prevent problems, need less, stay useful, do not become one more burden in the room. That job may have protected you once, but adulthood exposes its cost. You can survive this way for years and still never feel deeply rested. Because rest is not only the absence of motion, it is the absence of internal permission battles. It is the moment your body stops asking whether it has earned stillness, the moment care arrives and you do not immediately tense against it. This is why some people clean before a therapist appointment, or over-explain before taking a sick day, or make jokes the second a conversation gets emotionally real. Even your self-awareness can become part of the pattern. You understand yourself beautifully, then use that insight to keep functioning without actually slowing down. You name the wound, then outrun it. You intellectualize your exhaustion while still refusing to cancel plans. At some point, the body stops cooperating politely. It gets foggy, irritable, flat. Small tasks feel oddly enormous. This is often mistaken for laziness. But laziness usually does not come with panic, guilt, and a running inner list of unfinished duties. What you call laziness may actually be a system past capacity, a body protesting a life built on constant override. And yet many people push harder at that exact moment. They try to solve depletion with stricter routines, harsher self-talk, and more control. Because slowing down feels morally suspicious. If rest was never neutral in childhood, it will feel dangerous in adulthood. That is why healing this pattern is not just about better habits. It is about rewriting the meaning of rest inside your body. Real change begins smaller than that. It begins when you notice the guilt without obeying it. When you pause before automatically volunteering. It begins when someone asks how you are and you do not rush to make your answer comfortable. When tired actually gets to mean tired. That can feel incredibly vulnerable. Because beneath hyper-responsibility, there is often a child who never got to relax into being looked after. And when that child finally slows down, grief may show up before peace. This is important to understand. Sometimes the first real rest feels like sadness. Not because rest is wrong, but because your body is noticing what it missed. The missed softness, the missed protection, the missed experience of being someone's responsibility without feeling guilty for it. But meeting that sorrow may be the beginning of honesty. Your nervous system is no longer distracting you from your own history. Maybe it says you are not hard to love, just unfamiliar with being gently handled. Maybe it says the strong one in the room is tired of being mistaken for the least needy. Maybe it says your competence was real, but so was the cost, and being capable never meant being uncarryable. There is a difference between resilience and chronic self-abandonment. One helps you survive difficulty, the other teaches you to disappear inside competence. So if rest feels hard, that does not mean you are bad at peace. It may mean peace was never made familiar enough to trust. If slowing down makes you anxious, that does not make you weak. It may mean your body learned that alertness was love, safety, or survival. And if you feel guilty when someone cares for you, look gently at that guilt. It may be protecting an old belief that your worth depends on how little you ask for. The goal is not to become a person who never works hard. The goal is to stop living as if your humanity only counts when it is useful. To stop treating rest like a reward at the end of perfect behavior. To stop calling yourself lazy for having limits that every human body has. To let support land without turning it into debt. To let quiet exist without filling it immediately. To learn that stillness is not abandonment. But even that is information. It shows you how long you have been living on adrenaline, approval, and self-neglect. Because strength developed too early has a hidden sadness in it. It often comes from becoming dependable before you were deeply protected. And people who are strong too early often become adults who cannot relax, even in safe rooms. Their bodies are still waiting for the next demand. But safety is not proven by how much you can carry. Sometimes it is proven by what you are finally allowed to put down. You were supposed to be human from the beginning. Human enough to need comfort. Human enough to stop. Human enough to be cared for before you learned how to care for everyone else. You did not fail to learn some simple adult skill. You adapted to an environment where relaxing may have cost too much. And now the work is quieter than performance. It is letting your body discover, little by little, that nothing terrible happens when you stop proving yourself. That the day does not collapse because you sat down. That love does not disappear because you became less efficient for an hour. That your needs do not ruin the room. That your tiredness is not a problem to hide. There is something deeply radical in that kind of rest. Not luxurious, not lazy, honest. Honest enough to admit you are carrying more than your share. Honest enough to stop calling survival maturity just because it looked impressive. Because maybe the strongest thing you can do now is not push through. Maybe it is to notice when pushing through is just an old fear wearing adult clothes. And maybe real rest begins the moment you stop asking whether you deserve it. The moment you understand why you never felt safe enough to try.